Hello, everyone. Welcome to this podcast series. Thank you for your lots of appreciation and valuable comments. Today, we are going to discuss one of the most important topic that is about Sanskrit language. Before discussing about the topic, I wanted to make you know that we started this podcast series for the welfare of society to discuss about health, education, and lifestyle. So, in this way, we have completed our 24 podcast series with eminent people across the globe. And I am very happy for your lots of support in this particular aspect. So, today, as I told, we are going to have a discussion on Sanskrit language. We all have lots of enthusiasm to learn this language. But at the same time, we have a fear of learning it. How can we learn? How can we adapt to this modern digital technology? What kind of measures we have to take? So these are some of the few aspects that we are going to discuss in this particular podcast series. And I'm very happy to invite our guest, Tanuja. She is an eminent personality in this particular area. And I'm very proud to say that she has done her PhD in this area from IIT Bombay, which is highly prestigious institution in our India. And she is doing great in this particular area and not wasting our valuable time. I want to transfer all our doubts and questions to her. And definitely, if you really like this podcast, do like it, share it, and comment it, because this is one of the most useful podcast for all of us, as we want to protect our ancient languages. We want to learn them. We want to conversate in that particular language. So lots of love we have, but we are not finding a good way to do that particular task. So I hope this podcast will be useful for all of you in that aspect. So on that very positive note, I want to discuss all these aspects with Tanuja. Thank you, madam, for accepting our invitation. And can you please kindly introduce yourself?
So much, Rajesh. I'm very happy to become a part of your podcast. I'm Dr. Tanuja Ajotikar, currently working as an assistant professor at the Sanskrit Library, the digital library in the US, and I'm also a coordinator for the Vedic department in Maharshi Vedic University, the Netherlands. My passion is to teach digital technology to every single Sanskrit student in order to make them capable in handling the digital transformation or the digital shift from printing or any other media to the modern digital media. That is my passion, as well as I really I would like to encourage every Sanskrit student to learn the Sanskrit language thoroughly and get the training, if possible, in traditional way, yet embrace new technology, so that we will be really will be ready to embrace the future. So I always say that don't look how we were great in the past, but also look forward what are next 50 years for our Sanskrit studies. So be prepared for the future, and that will give you more fruits, or that will be the more fruitful way to look at Sanskrit studies.
Sure, ma'am. So here, I wanted to know what first inspired you to dedicate your life to Sanskrit language, and how did your journey begin?
Uh, Very simple answer. I I don't know why I chose Sanskrit, but as a kid, I was very much interested in languages. And at that time in my school, there were good language teachers, but 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 people who were older than I was, 5 years older, 6 years older, they were all becoming doctors and engineers, or rather were extremely passionate about only doctor or engineering or medical studies. So as a kid, I thought, like, if nobody is going to learn language, who will teach us language? If there will be no good language teachers, how we will survive? And as a kid, I only knew that, okay, doing PhD is very great, and Sanskrit is a very great language. So I started studying it. Rather, I decided to go for higher studies in Sanskrit. It was a very innocent decision, not a very practical decision, I should say. But I think so far, I'm very much happy that I pursued my passion.
Yeah, that's really great to have a PhD in this area, and we are happy that you are doing great in this particular aspect. So you have both traditional training in Paninian grammar and modern academic research experience. So how do these two worlds complement each other?
Oh, they complement immensely. They, I will give you an example that in India, everyone knows these music talent shows or singing talent shows on TV, right? Many times,
Yes,
a best singer is trained in classical singing, and then he
yes,
sings, you know, um, then he can sing any type of song, right? Any type of music he can sing, because its base is very, the foundation is very powerful to, to adapt to any kind of music. So
yes.
likewise, if you are tradition makes you extremely independent in reading a text. I always tell to my students that there is no culture on this earth who have really developed the education system, how to educate, how to make one study, how to learn. That the best tradition is the Vedic and Sanskrit tradition. And so I would not say that modern academic research, if I'm doing, I don't need traditional training. I would rather say that if any student of Sanskrit has traditional training in reading Sanskrit, in traditional, what we say, texts, scriptures, literature, then definitely it helps to become a very rare human being, you know, because what was there, I know, and how can I present that knowledge in today's world, the modern academic research tells me. But I would like to definitely add one thing, that even though we think that English should not, I mean, learning or studying English or presenting our work in English is not necessary. I would say if the most important spoken language in the world, or rather, communication language is English. So why should not we learn English and reach to more, people, to tell what our ancestors did. So definitely, I would say modern academic research shaped my traditional knowledge in a way that I can present my work to a non-Sanskrit community. That is how I will put your question.
So Sanskrit is often seen as language of the past.
Mhm.
So how do you feel it, like how do you make it feel alive and relevant for learners today?
I would not say that it's. I would say that it's a misconception that it's a language of past, because still
Yes.
I teach. I have many students. I can speak in Sanskrit. I read the ancient texts. There are Sanskrit news are, what we say, are, a telecast. So we cannot say that Sanskrit is past of language, uh, language of past. It is also language of present. However,
Yes.
the most valuable literature, which is, thousands of years old, that is written in Sanskrit. So in a way, I would say that Sanskrit gives us rather direct access to that literature. If we don't know Sanskrit, there is no access what our ancients did, what our ancients
Yes.
said, what our ancients thought about human life, what our ancient people had a view towards this universe. How we will know about it? So I would say Sanskrit is the most powerful language for every Indian to know who their ancestors were, what they were doing, and I would definitely say the most intelligent and hardworking tradition is the Vedic tradition. So definitely we will be more. It's more to learn from our tradition. So Sanskrit is necessary to learn.
Exactly. Sanskrit is very necessary for today's generation to know all the ancient literature, as you rightly told. So you have taught Sanskrit to Ayurveda students, international learners, and working professionals. What differences do you notice in how each group approaches Sanskrit?
Yes. So one first is Ayurveda, second is international students, and third is working professionals. Okay.
Mm.
So Ayurveda students, unfortunately, where I was teaching, there was very less importance was given to Sanskrit. They unfortunately at that time, I don't know how now it is, and I would not I'm not making it a generalized picture. I'm just talking about my experience. My experience was many of those Ayurveda professionals teaching in that institute thought that mere reading Devanagari and getting the hyphenized text and making themselves aware of the meaning of that particular word is enough to understand the original text. But that doesn't happen. That's not at all a healthy approach. So
Mm.
my experience was with the Ayurveda students was first to convince them that they need to learn the language thoroughly. Second of
Yes.
all, they otherwise general picture about Ayurveda professionals, rather Ayurveda students, is everyone comes is with some kind of fear to learn Sanskrit. So it was a little struggle for me to teach Sanskrit to those students because it was compulsory, and out of 100 only 20 people were interested in learning Sanskrit thoroughly. So that was not a very great experience for me. But I did develop my own online course for Sanskrit to teach Ayurveda professionals, because I completely introduce all of the vocabulary known to them from their own domain, to teach paradigms, to teach simple sentences, even the verb forms. I use only those examples from the Ayurveda text. So I think I'm grateful to that experience also, for being able to develop uh, some material for Ayurveda professionals. For international scholars, I'm very happy because only serious people come to me and they read text with me. For example, I will mention one of the retired professor from University of Michigan. His name is Dr. Lewis Hunt. He's a very special person because he translates Sanskrit poetry into English poetry. It's not mere English sentences, because that is available easily. Even nowadays AI can do it. But he translates a poem, a poetic translation. So such people, when they come and read text with me, it's a very enriching experience for me also, because I just don't have to stick to that what text says, but then other peculiarities of language I have to explain, some cultural aspect to that. I have to explain some aspect to the writing style, the composing style of that particular poet in Sanskrit poet. I have to explain. So it's a learning experience. It's enriching experience for me. I will definitely say that Western scholars or Western people, students who want to learn Sanskrit are extremely serious about it. They don't. They work extremely hard, and I think that is really a good teaching what we say, a learning experience for me. And with working professionals, I particularly work with Indians who are settled in the US. So they are, when they come to the US, many of them, since here work culture is very disciplined, they have their time to devote to their own hobbies or to their own interests. So
Yes.
people, Indians who are, engineers, IT professionals, economists, financial, experts in finances, etc. They come to me. They sometimes they learn about the literature, and sometimes they'll learn the text. So definitely, as I said in one of your questions, that being able to explain everything using English benefits me, because then I can reach more people. If I decide to only in Sanskrit medium, then my people who can't understand Sanskrit first, on the first stage, then they will be discouraged. So I think to reach to non-Sanskrit community, it's a very good experience, I should say.
Yeah. So, madam, here I have a personal question. It can be a question for all the people also. For example, I am there, I have done my PhD in the area of computer science, especially in the domain of artificial intelligence. For example, I want to do another PhD in the area of Sanskrit language. So, how to approach? Like, like me, there are so many people, there are some doctors, lawyers, there are some other people, maybe who want to do PhD in this area. So how to enter in this field? Like what is the career path? Like in the sense, what is the path to do this task?
Okay, so one thing is, if we use your example that you already did your PhD in AI, so you have one expertise. For example, computing is your
Yeah.
expertise. And if you want to do a PhD, then I think many IITs have now a humanities department, or Indian Knowledge System centers. So
Oh.
you can approach there. I think it will be easy for you to directly enroll in some of these departments under some Sanskrit professor who is kind of coming from the background like my background, that have a Sanskrit traditional training as well as some understanding of technology. So
Yeah.
for for you, I think the large language models, or
Yes. Yes.
creating, for example, even our requirement for our website, our institute is, when we create digital data, we need someone expert from computer science who will transform that data. And any kind of learning teaching platforms we can develop. We already have one teaching platform developed, but more of an independent advanced style of teaching learning platform we can develop. So you can contribute that way using your technology background in any ICAS or humanities department. But if you go to a traditional Sanskrit department in any university, I doubt that the interdisciplinary approach will be there. I don't have right now any hands-on information about it. For example, doctors, I would say Ayurveda is the best, area where they can explore more about it. And even lawyers, I guess, definitely in judgments they use smritis.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
and
Yes.
the traditional argument science. So
Yeah.
yeah, so their expertise they can use. For example, when I attended 2020 World Ramayana Conference in Jabalpur. It is a
Okay.
cultural ministry's initiative. I was
Oh,
invited as a speaker there. At that time, I had, attended one paper by a chief
oh,
justice of some high court, where he was
oh,
discussing the legal aspect, why Rama was sent for 14 years to the exile.
okay.
And he gave some of the modern Indian judgments in modern independent India.
Yeah.
Talking about the possession and inheritance laws. But that gave me an idea, and I looked into Smritis how it is handled about possession and inheritance law. So those kinds of aspects definitely help interpreting the things. um, Otherwise, if you just want to pursue your passion, means if you are a spiritual person, then Vedanta is a very good area to explore in.
Yeah, that was really insightful answer, madam. It was very good to know about all these things. And here I wanted to know, many people think Sanskrit is very difficult, and they leave in the middle or they don't even start their learning. So, what are some practical ways to make the learning process easier and more enjoyable in this field? What do you say about it?
Yes, I think you cannot blame Sanskrit for being difficult. I would rather say it, just first learn your own language correctly. Whichever language you speak, Hindi, English, Marathi, Telugu, Malayalam, Tamil, whatever language. India is such a big country and so many languages, 22 official languages are there. So, whosoever, even dialect, whatever you speak, you first look at your own language scientifically, then it's easy to learn Sanskrit. Because once you learn the structure of a language, it's not difficult to learn any language in the world. Sanskrit is difficult in a way that it is inflectional language, and it has some, since it is an ancient language, it has some peculiarities. For example, we don't use dual. We only use ekavachana and anekavachana in our own language. We don't use ekavachana, dvivachana, bahuvachana. So, or the forms are vary. But I think once you learn one language thoroughly, no, other language as an adult to learn, it's very easy. Secondly, in India, uh, in general, learning other Indian languages, they don't look at it as a secondary language. For example, there is a or rather, you have to learn that language exactly same way you learn any foreign language. What happens, we just take for granted that, okay, in my language, if I have thousands of Sanskrit words I myself using, okay, so it's not difficult for me to learn Sanskrit. That is not the right approach. If you are learning any language as an adult, treat it as a foreign language. In how foreign language, the rigorous training. So, for example, anyone goes for German, French, any kind of Western European language training, Spanish, they devote 200 to 300 hours for each level to learn, right? From introductory, intermediate, advanced. So, that much time, if you devote to learn Sanskrit, then it is easy to learn, and the material available um, should also be arranged like that. For example, we don't have two different materials to teach Indian and foreign Sanskrit students who are learning Sanskrit for the very first time. No, we don't differ material. We have the introductory level, we have the intermediate level, and intermediate level is we give more time, because Then we introduce different types of texts to read independently, and then we start for advanced learning. So I would say that first thing, thumbnail rule is you just learn your own language first thoroughly scientifically, and secondly,
Yes.
if you at any time you can start to learn Sanskrit, just give time and effort exactly the way you would like to give to learn German or French.
Exactly. That is a really good point, madam. We have to spend a lot of time in learning the language. That is very important. Now, could you explain how the digital medium is transforming the way Sanskrit is studied and taught?
Okay, that's a good question. Thank you so much for that question. Since every medium nowadays is digital medium, right? There are
Yes.
podcasts, there are YouTube videos, there are animated videos to explain things. So and there are so many YouTube channels also to teach Sanskrit, right? So digital medium is already there, but digital medium, I would say that is more making education informal rather than more formal, right? Because if I had to learn, let's say, Vyakarana,
Mhm.
just a minute. Yeah, if I have to learn Vyakarana, then I probably in 50 years ago or 20 years ago, I should go to some teacher in person, sit in his class. But
Excellent.
nowadays, the access in the digital era is very much easy. If you have your own computer or laptop, if you have a stable Wi-Fi connection, electricity and Wi-Fi connection, then you can connect to any person in the world. So there is on the one hand, accessibility is easy, that is transforming the opportunities to learn. At the same time, there is extreme competition for excellence. If you are not an excellent teacher, then people will have more other options. So that
Exactly.
is also, I would say, it's a very encouraging for young professionals to become to achieve excellency in their field in teaching Sanskrit. And thirdly, um, most of the traditional teaching of Sanskrit based on memorizing and understanding the text literally. Word by word, you have to read. At the same time, you should have a lot of, I'm not calling memorization as a negative point. It's a very good point because it's exercise for the brain, and I myself memorize a lot of things. But the traditionally how you see is, if you when teacher learns, or rather, sorry, teacher teaches the text, he has all the references in his brain, in his memory stored, and he knows where to look. But digital medium is shifting this particular mere oral dominating medium in traditional way to a more visual medium, right? So if I go to an engineer first year engineering student, and if I just say sit in front of him and talk, nobody can understand what I'm talking about. Rather, if I have slides, if I have good pictures, if I have good diagrams, if I have flow charts, if I have trees to explain the point, to explain the structure, to explain the text, then the visual medium is more appealing and engaging to teach. So digital medium for teaching is definitely effective means to teach. And I always insist on this, that we young professionals should learn more and more about visual medium rather than audio medium. Okay. And thirdly, uh, access to the material is very easy. So
Yes, ma'am.
on the one hand, it is discouraging for Sanskrit studies, because if something doesn't is not available on Google, it doesn't exist. Going to a library, searching for material, getting books, knowing about how much material is available is reduced, or is decreasing the this habit to go to a library and study. it should be on your screen, readily accessible. So so that kind of qualitative material is not available still. There are so many websites which display many texts, and I really admire those efforts, but those are for end users. It is very much developed for who uses it. It's not developed for a scholarly access, because especially very very basic thing, wiki source, right? There are so many text available. Sometimes their bibliographical information is missing, so I don't know if this purana, if I'm reading, is what is the source edition. And in scholarly and research, or rather serious academia, we really give importance which edition we are using in order to present our work or in order to study that particular topic. So I would say the digital medium in a way does not fulfill all of the needs of scholars. And that is why we have developed this digital humanities program, in order to train Sanskrit students to develop resources that will cater to their own needs in future for scholarly work.
That's good to know, man. Wanted to know, do you see of training students to use digital technology in Sanskrit education?
Could you please repeat your question? I couldn't hear.
Yeah, I was, yes, ma'am. I was asking, what do you see as the long-term impact of training students to use digital technology in Sanskrit education?
Yeah. So that is what I mean. It is the a continuation of our
Yes,
previous
the previous
discussion.
question. Yes,
Yeah. So definitely the every Sanskrit student, it's not merely reading writing skill is enough now.
yes.
For everyone actually, if a person is computer illiterate, then he is not really literate, right? It's not just for reading boards on the road, and then that's enough for us reading writing skill. So you have to learn this. But also I always tell our language students, is merely typing your paper in word file is not the sufficient skill that you
Okay.
should acquire, that anyone should acquire, but rather to develop digital resources, rather little bit of learning about how certain digital resources can be designed, can be created. It's very simple tasks like understanding the difference between plain text file, between HTML, XML, Word file, different aspects of fonts, or different aspects of usage of encoding, what hinders an effective search, how we can develop searchable text irrespective of a particular script. And no matter which script you read, Roman transliteration, um, Devanagari, Gurumukhi, Gujarati, Telugu, Kannada, Bengali, whatever you script any user is capable of, or rather is very comfortable with, then that text should be displayed in that particular script, Sanskrit text. And I just not call Sanskrit, but also other Prakrit, Pali text. Whatever the script the person is comfortable with to read in, they should be displayed in that. Their search result should be identical. So what Devanagari search gives, the same search result should be given in Roman in other scripts also. It should not differ. So what are those effective means to achieve that kind of effective search? What are the OCR, mean optical character recognition? Are there hindrances? Are there some challenges to overcome? And still, even though we develop a Devanagari or optical character recognition, there are so many millions of manuscripts written in different ancient scripts. So how can we achieve that a digital representation of that text, or can we have some kind of short, some kind of effective way to align the available text and the text written in a different script, and kind of transform that particular text into more in more modern script. So all these kinds of real challenges we have, just to start with, because research starts after this, when you have all the materials available
Yes.
in certain format, and not just original text. There is at least after printing, the first printed Sanskrit dictionary is 1832. Okay.
Oh,
In Bengali scripts,
oh,
Shabdakalpadruma. And for example, Mahabharata was also like 1830s. Mahabharata was first published. So
oh,
from that era, how much material is created in for Sanskrit? Many dictionaries, the dictionaries are on our website, but there are many indices. There are many several scholarly material in the form of manuscript catalogs. Those are all also are waiting to transform into digital form. Because the accessibility is the key word right now. If you can't
yes.
access within a few seconds on your mobile or on your laptop, then it is, it has no life anymore.
Yes.
So all these materials should see the digital transformation. So I would say that, and for example, right now, just I read a few days ago somebody's post. I think someone sent me a WhatsApp message, something. Our honorable Prime Minister has taken initiative for digital transformation of all Sanskrit rather Indian ancient manuscripts. Now, how you contribute, how any Sanskrit student can contribute to this particular initiative. So, unless thorough training in understanding the digital medium and what are the peculiarities of Sanskrit language, means material, Sanskrit literature or the available material, that we should know, and then we can actually use that whole intelligent youth for making this transition happen.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the answer to your question? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
am I?
yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That was really awesome answer. Thank you for that. So here, in this context, I wanted to know, like, you have, as you mentioned, lots of manuscripts are there, ancient texts are there. They are the treasure house of knowledge. So how important it is to preserve and share them with today's generation?
Oh, it is very important. As I say, that a human being is not shaped just because he is born with some name and he has this life. Like, who are you? Your identity is always shaped by your culture.
Yes,
And we are the one of the ancient cultures on the
yes,
earth. And to lose that knowledge what our ancestors gave us is a major, I think, loss for any tradition, any generation. So I think these manuscripts, these materials are extremely important from the point of view of what our ancients did. uh, how did they develop their own culture, and what we are, what we know today, how much we lost that knowledge and how much we progressed that knowledge.
exactly.
Both of these aspects we can definitely think about, study about, and actually it is very enriching to learn about our ancient past, and it definitely shapes our present and future. And I always say that it is very important, means how do we look at human life. It doesn't matter how you cook your food, either on a very traditional chulha or a very electric stove. It's very important how you were understanding as a self,
Yes,
how you were approached to life. That is very important. It doesn't matter how much technology one
Yes.
employs or uses just to function in life. That's not the way any culture is advanced or ancient, or rather not very advanced. That is not the way. How you look at human life, how you understand human life, how much you are aware of yourself, what is your self identity, and that shapes our ancient knowledge, and that is all over the world is now appreciated. For example, here in Maharshi University, or Maharshi International University, Fairfield, Iowa, where I live also, here physics department is making a lot of advances in quantum physics by
Yes.
connecting it to Vedanta. So,
Oh,
but it is not the, I'm not saying that whatever Vedanta literature had is all, is, quantum physics is telling us already has the Vedanta literature explained. That is not the case. The case is how relevant or how everlasting impact of that knowledge is. So, very important to learn Sanskrit language from that point of view also.
well said, ma'am. That is really awesome. So here, from your experience, what are some misconceptions people usually have about Sanskrit that you would like to clear?
First thing is Sanskrit is difficult to learn. That's a misconception. You have to memorize a lot to learn Sanskrit. That's a misconception. That's not the way. If you have a good teacher, definitely you can learn Sanskrit at any age. Thirdly, whatever modern science advances are, that those are already described in our Vedas. That is also a kind of misconception, because it actually discourages us from reading that literature thoroughly.
Yes.
Um, but I would say that every every culture, every Indian civilization has its own pace of progress, has its
Yes.
own tools to look to discover truth. So if modern science is shaped by mathematical models,
Yes.
and that mathematical model, if we can't locate in our ancient literature, if I'm saying if,
Yeah.
um, then that doesn't mean that our ancient knowledge is not modern, is not, cannot stand to modern principles. First we
Yes.
have to look at what was the progress, how was the progress happened in our own culture, in our own
Exactly.
tradition. There should not be any model. For if you
Yes.
take today's mathematical model and apply it to Paninian Ashtadhyayi, then that would be an interesting study, but that will not validate that what Panini did. So
Okay.
the Sanskrit Library always says that appreciate Vedic knowledge, appreciate Vedic tradition the way it is. That's it. And I would say that more than a, what mathematical model, does it fit or not, rather than this kind of uh, anxiety, we should actually read it without any expectations, without any presuppositions. You just read it as it is, and that will reveal more and more depth of knowledge in the tradition. That's how I will say.
So, madam, finally, like, if you see, what changes would you like to see in the ways Sanskrit is taught in schools and universities? So, what is your perception on it?
I would, well, for last 10-12 years, I'm not directly connected with school teaching. I have
Okay.
some experience teaching in Ayurveda college, and for a few months in some
Oh.
other university. So
Mhm.
I can only comment about the higher education of Sanskrit.
Okay.
Higher education of Sanskrit is suffering from the fault that there are two communities as far as
Okay.
Sanskrit studies are concerned.
Oh,
or groups, we can say. One group is the entire Rashtriya Sanskrit Sansthan, or rather Central Sanskrit University style campuses, where the traditional Veda Pathshala, or rather students who are more traditionally trained, take the higher education path. So they are
oh,
extremely capable, extremely well versed in the reading the traditional text, but they
oh,
don't know any other language than
yes,
their own mother tongue and Sanskrit. So their work cannot be, they cannot present their work to the non Sanskrit speaking community. They cannot
exactly.
present their work using the modern
Technical
vocabulary, modern
vocabulary.
technical terms.
Oh,
Um, so I would say that little bit of training those traditional students in presenting their knowledge to a
mhm,
common non-Sanskrit community would be great.
mhm,
And
oh,
for the other group, which goes in a, which comes through the school, 8 to 12th grade, that learn Sanskrit, and then they come for BA, MA, MPhil, PhD, whatever they do.
yeah,
The problem is that the school training in Sanskrit, most of the times, is
yes,
hasty. They don't learn thoroughly. In When I was in school, my training in Sanskrit was very thorough. Um, but because of many reasons for that, that syllabus is not that strong that they can read at least basic Puranic literature, Ramayana, Mahabharata, on their own
yes,
when they come to do BA. And after even they do BA, they are still, lacking that capacity of reading the original text on their own. So
exactly,
maybe they are smart enough to present the literature or the concepts in the literature, but they are not the teachers. They are not going to be good teachers for the future students for higher education. So I would say that we need to work in that area in both these groups.
exactly, madam. That is that is very true what you have told. And the last question, madam, what advice you would give to the younger learners, the present generation professionals who want to explore Sanskrit seriously?
Yes, as I said, the basic thing is you should not uh, depend on any translation to read a Sanskrit text.
Oh,
Secondly, choose some shastra to read, to study further. Maybe
oh,
it Nyaya, maybe it Mimamsa, maybe it Vyakarana.
mhm,
So that, and learn one tradition thoroughly with one traditional Pandit. That's the
oh,
mandatory thing, because then you learn how the intelligent debates, how
mhm,
the serious academic debates in the traditional commentaries unfold, you know. Um, so how to read the technical scientific texts, that is
oh,
very mandatory to read. um, so anyone who is coming from a very conventional system of grading, grade school, then higher education, BA, MA, they should really go to a pandit, learn with a pandit, so that they can be independent in reading the text.
oh,
Secondly, I would say that learn digital technology
yes,
and learn from those who are working in this area. It's not
yes,
that you join a C, C++
the-
or Java programming for that. It's not going
mhm,
to help today. Means already who are 25 plus people. If
yes,
they are 20 minus, they are still young and still thinking what to do, then it's good to have computer science background and language background both. But most of the important thing is, in general in India, language training is completely neglected at school level. Even some
yes,
parents are there who oppose to have language in school studies. They say, okay, maths and science are enough for our son or daughter to learn, what he is doing by learning, what we will do by reading texts or reading learning a language. It's not the case. A language is very important to learn, because I have trained engineers, computer science experts, and Sanskrit students to both digital technology. And I find that I have to start from the very basic, that script is different and language is different. Language is spoken, created
Yes.
by you. I mean, what I'm speaking is, right now I'm creating this language, right?
Yes.
I'm composing sentences, I'm thinking how to produce a particular grammatically correct sentence, and I can write in any script. The script, written form of language, is just a representation of that language. Not all the sounds in language we can sometimes we can represent. So when we talk about the digital technology, we have to think what kind of medium we are using. Is it audio? Is it visual? It is reading? What kind of writing? What kind of tool we are creating? What kind of resource we are creating? So it was very difficult to teach digital technology for computer experts, even though they were experts in that area. Rather, it was very easy for a language, for me, to teach digital technology to a language expert, because he knew the basics of language. So I would say that for Sanskrit professionals, don't be afraid of, don't get scared if you have to deal with technology. Technology gives you more independence to say your own thing.
Yes. So that is really awesome to discuss with you, madam. You gave very valuable insights, and you have given a new dimension for learning the language. And I'm very thankful for your precious time and valuable pointers. Hope this session will be very useful for those who want to learn this language and upgrade their lifestyle in the better way by learning various Puranas, Shastras. Definitely, we will come to know how to lead our life in a better way. So, definitely, this podcast will be very useful for them. Thank you so much, madam. I really thank you for your valuable time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and I look forward to your this episode. I would
Definitely.
also like to look at it again. So thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.